Hakuna Matata, what a wonderful phrase.
In an effort to play on our nostalgia, Disney has over the last couple years dedicated themselves as a studio to the production and release of a slew of live-action remakes based on the properties that sculpted our childhoods. Although many have criticized the House of Mouse for not creating new properties instead, there is no doubt that the remakes of these classics have smashed the box office upon their release and brought the incredible stories to a new generation of children. But what do these live-action remakes look like behind the scenes when you take away the incredible virtual effects we are used to in recent Disney properties? Well, stick around as we take a peek behind the curtain of what Disney live action really looks like behind the scenes. But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Starting with Mulan. Mulan is the latest in Disney's live-action remakes and was set to release back in March of this year. Unfortunately for us, the global health situation struck with a vengeance and has delayed the public release until Disney Plus successfully gets it off the ground. From the trailer, however, we are able to see the overall theme of the movie, which seems to be photorealism at its best. In other words, like Aladdin, we can expect a slew of actors and actresses actually having to sing, dance, and fight with one another from time to time during the running of the Disney property. It won't surprise Disney fans who are familiar with the training regime of its actors to hear that Liu Yifei, who portrays Mulan in the movie, had to train about 6 to 7 hours per day for a grand total of 3 months to be able to pull off the amazing fighting technique that Mulan has demonstrated in the past. According to Mandy Walker, a Disney cinematographer who worked on the property, Liu actually performed about 90% of her own stunts, so no wonder she had to put so much practice into the portrayal. That's some Tom Cruise dedication right there. Mulan is also known for being a warrior princess who was able to wow the viewer by doing a bunch of impossible-looking flips and gravity-defying leaps, making the use of wires incredibly important insofar as battle choreography goes. This means that Liu had to spend a lot of time learning how to move with restrictive wires and stiffen her body appropriately when being yanked into the air. This sounds easy enough, but believe me, boys and girls, it is far from it. It wasn't just Liu though, as since the movie is set within a time where the Chinese Imperial Army is in battle against invaders from the north, the majority of the cast had to work hard learning martial arts and how to appropriately ride a horse into a battle scenario. Like I said, photorealism is the name of the game here, so the cast had to get the Game of Thrones treatment to a large extent. Suffice it to say, having watched the trailer over 1 billion times, I just can't wait for this majestic movie to come out. Come on, Disney, please release it soon. Next is The Jungle Book, released in 2016. The adventures of Mowgli and Baloo touched so many lives when the original came out back in 1967 that the movie was passed on from generation to generation, becoming almost a staple for each and every Western childhood. You can imagine the ginormous amount of pressure that Disney was feeling once they officially announced their live-action remake of the property, especially since the vast majority of it would be animated using virtual effects and CGI. One of the difficulties present in tackling the task was the sheer number of animals that had to be virtually rendered, with about 70 different animal species appearing throughout the movie's runtime. Every single species of animal had to be virtually created using CGI, starting from their skeletal outlay to their bodies and fur, but as painstakingly difficult as this must have been, it was actually the easy part. We need to remember that these animals might have been moving like they would in the wild, but they were doing something that they were never supposed to do, namely talking and singing. So, how do you create an animal that talks and sings without breaking the photorealism of the production? Well, you anthropomorphize them, of course, giving them as little human characteristics as necessary to trick our brains into thinking that their talking and singing is normal. Disney did this by making use of a groundbreaking VFX technique known as facial rigging, which allowed virtual artists to discover the muscles animals have that humans do not, and experiment with how these muscles would move if the animal spoke as we humans do. A combination of human and animal muscles were thus used for the animals' mouths to ensure that they spoke like humans, but snarled like the animals they were portraying. Since the animals throughout the movie were completely CGI, actor Neil Sethi, who portrayed Mowgli, was essentially acting alone on set for the entirety of the movie, accompanied by only puppets and production crew in blue suits to show him where the animals he was interacting with would be. This was an incredible feat altogether, and if you haven't seen it yet, watch it today. Believe me, boys and girls, you will not be disappointed. How about The Lion King, released in 2019? It is, of course, impossible to speak about any live-action Disney property without at least mentioning the culmination of Disney's hard work and dedication to bring the 1994 animated film of our childhoods to life. Although The Jungle Book paved the way for this live-action masterpiece, things were a bit different on set, as not a single live person featured in the movie. The movie was, for all intents and purposes, animated, but looked incredibly realistic, as if flipping through the television and landing on the Discovery Channel. There was one obvious difference, though, as with The Jungle Book, these animals sang and spoke like it was commonplace. The film was actually shot using virtual production, which allowed director Jon Favreau to step right into the world of The Lion King film, and precisely as if the performing animals were right in front of him. The biggest challenge Disney faced when transferring the beloved animated movie to its live-action format was making it as photorealistic as possible while still staying faithful to the source material. One example of this is the scene in the original animated movie where Rafiki stands on the cliff and lifts Simba into the air to be admired by the animal kingdom. Since mandrills as a species can't stand up like this, the animators made Rafiki sit down on the cliff face and do the same. Oh, and don't get me started on how the virtual artists actually had to time the animals' breathing with their dialogue and singing, as this was a tedious process that had to be done to make their performances look believable. Next time you watch The Lion King, take a look at the stomachs of the animals when they talk. Believe me, you'll be absolutely blown away by the amount of work that was put in. Once again, Disney had done it, bringing our childhoods to life once more. We can't forget The Lady and the Tramp, released in 2019. Lady and the Tramp as an animated film has always been used to introduce children to the majesty of love in a child-friendly manner. Nothing is more iconic than that scene between Lady and the Tramp where they share a bowl of spaghetti, which inevitably draws them closer to one another until they kiss for the first time. So, when Disney revealed that they were in the process of creating a live-action version of the production, the world screamed, "Yes, please!" Things were a little different with this live-action production, as even though there were more than enough CGI dogs to choose from littered throughout the movie, the Tramp was portrayed by a real mutt named Monty, while Lady was portrayed by a Cocker Spaniel named Rose. This presented Disney with a pretty difficult task of not only working with real animals, but seamlessly blending the real and virtual together into one. The difficulty can be demonstrated by looking at that iconic scene once more, where Lady and the Tramp share a bowl of spaghetti and meatballs, which apparently took about 3 days to film and caused the production crew a boatload of frustration. Since dogs don't exactly suck spaghetti up like they did in the animated movie, and the spaghetti kept on breaking, the production team ended up using dyed licorice and chicken broth to get the shot that they needed, while ensuring that the dogs had something tasty to munch on. Now that's ingenuity. Last but not least, Beauty and the Beast, released in 2017. In another wondrous tale of love and adventure, Beauty and the Beast was brought into live action back in 2017, where the gorgeous Emma Watson portrayed Belle and Dan Stevens portrayed Beast. While not much was needed to change Emma into the beautiful Belle, the same cannot be said for Dan, as Beast is, well, a beast. As such, Dan Stevens had to wear a bulky motion capture suit while on set, along with a pair of stilts to ensure that the actor was the appropriate height that Beast would be in the movie. When you consider the ballroom dancing and dexterity shown by Beast throughout the movie, it seems next to impossible that Dan was able to pull this off while on stilts. But it's true. The making of the rest of the Beast was then placed in the hands of the VFX department, who slaved for hours on end, getting each and every hair follicle perfect, while accounting for wind and clumping physics where the need arose. Considering how the entire town looks like it was taken straight out of the fairy tale book you owned when you were a child, you'd be forgiven for thinking that the majority of these scenes were shot in front of a green screen. Believe it or not, Disney actually went ahead and built most of the background set from scratch in England, giving a realistic and rural feel to the town Belle sings her way through. The ballroom, for example, was made out of 12,000 square feet of faux marble. The sheer level of detail is insane. So, there you have it. I really hope you enjoyed seeing how some of the greatest Disney live-action movies of our generation were made. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.